Old Ann and I, with throats burned dry and souls that cry for water. Cool, clear water.
Netflix cracking your top 10. Top 10 movies of 2018. Here we go with the recap. I didn't hear much about this, but you clearly liked it.
This is always my favorite time of the year when I go through my top 10 of the year. Now, I'm not saying these are the best movies of the year. They're my favorites, and I didn't see everything, but of what I saw, here's what I thought. So, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, yes, a Netflix movie from the Coen brothers, and that made my number 10 spot. It's ultimately a greatest hits package of the Coen brothers. It's a sprawling 6-part Western anthology, so each chapter tells a distinct story about the American West. Gorgeous cinematography, really rich screenplay from the Coen brothers that feels plucked right out of that time, and just some top-notch performances. And for each one, I think it's cool to see a lot of people have identified with one or two of the stories, so it's almost like you go through and you pick your favorite. As a whole, though, I thought it was a masterpiece, and the main central focus here, the theme, is mortality. So the Coen brothers doing life and death with the backdrop of the Old West, that's number 10 of the year.
And Netflix becoming a major player now with the first-run feature films.
Yeah, and you look at Roma, all the buzz that's getting too. So Netflix, a major player right now. All right, we're talking horror for number 9, Hereditary. I'm a tough sell when it comes to horror movies.
This was great.
Yeah, now I put The Exorcist basically at the top of the list for me. This is a close second because Toni Collette gave an absolutely commanding performance, along with Gabriel Byrne, Alex Wolff, and young Millie Shapiro. This is essentially a family drama, so it could have worked as a strictly domestic film, but it's also about terrifying demonic possession, and it's a family learning about these increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. Some really disturbing things that stuck with me for weeks in this movie, and just an unbelievable aesthetic to it. The performances were great, and Toni Collette, man alive, she should be getting serious awards contention. It was one of the best performances of her career.
You'll never look at a treehouse the same after watching this movie.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Wes Anderson was back with Isle of Dogs. And I got to give this one number 8 because of the sheer craftsmanship with the stop-motion animation, the inventive storytelling, painstaking work that goes into this. I just think it's amazing, the visual storytelling here. And a young boy, voiced by Vancouver's own Koyu Rankin, has to travel to an island to rescue his dog Spots. This is in a sort of not-too-distant future Japan, where all dogs have been quarantined to an island. And it's got all the Wes Anderson normal players, you know, like Brian Cranston, not usually, but he's in it, but to Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson. It's Wes Anderson's love letter to the country, and I thought the vocal talents were so strong. There's a point where Bryan Cranston and Scarlett Johansson, who voice dogs respectively, are both talking and having sort of like an intimate moment, and it was more compelling than a lot of actual human dialogue in most movies this year. So that is my pick for number 8. Now, number 7, gotta go to John Krasinski's A Quiet Place. And he starred alongside his real-life wife, Emily Blunt, in this movie. And he has directed a real cracking creature feature here with heart and brains. It's a silent film, essentially, and it's also a metaphor for raising kids. The fear, the apprehension, but it's all mixed under the guise of this alien invasion movie, essentially. And they hunt by sound, so everybody had to be quiet in the movie. I just thought it was such a great way to weave this yarn of horror, science fiction, and family issues. And it's got a really tight runtime, and I just thought it was impeccable.
They have this abstract villain in this movie, much like Bird Box on Netflix, which I saw this weekend. Very similar, but very effective.
Yes, indeed. And number 6... Gotta go with Mission Impossible Fallout. The best action movie of the year, if not the decade. Probably well, it's the best of the series for sure. And the series came full circle. There were things that they tied up that went all the way back to number 3. And the Halo jump, the broken ankle, which they kept in the final cut. Him piloting a helicopter, hanging off the chopper. Even Henry Cavill loading his arms in the bathroom fight. This one had it all. And a solid story as well, with lots of twists and turns. The best of the bunch, and one of the finest action movies in recent memory. Gotta go with that for number 6.
Tom Cruise brings it every time out.
You know it.
All right, 10 through 6 done, 5 through 1 coming your way as the top 10 movies of 2018 continue right here on BT. Stay tuned.
You're friends with Julia
Steinberg?
Yeah.
She's not an agent anymore. She died.
She did? Jesus, that's young.
Maybe she didn't die. Maybe she just moved back to the suburbs. I was confused, those two. No, that's right. She got married and had twins.
Better to have died.
Indeed.
Top 10 movies of 2018 continue. That's number 5 right there.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm getting all choked up here. Can You Ever Forgive Me? This is Melissa McCarthy in her best role yet, and Richard E. Grant, equally good. This is based on the true story of Lee Israel, a best-selling celebrity biographer in the 70s and 80s. She was unable to get published later in her career, though, so she turned to a little bit of deception. I won't give too much away. It's an ultimately New York City story with 2 outstanding performances, really keenly directed, and a razor-sharp script. But to see McCarthy and Richard E. Grant together sharing screen time was just magic. I love this movie, and it's such a great, unique look to it. Okay, let's move along. We'll go to number 4, and we'll really get it down to some awesome films now. First Man. Damien Chazelle reteaming with Ryan Gosling. They made La La Land together, and this is the story of NASA's mission to land a man on the moon, Neil Armstrong. Ryan Gosling playing him. This actually works as a gothic horror film and a historical docudrama because the character of Armstrong, which I didn't know, in the movie, the way it's painted, he was haunted by his past and stalked by death. So it's really an interesting look through the lens of his perspective of what this all was, how this all unfolded, you know, at the time in the 60s. Impeccable technical details, an outstanding score from Justin Hurwitz, and I thought this was just an impeccable movie that years later is going to be really remembered. It was kind of forgotten at the box office, but First Man is an awesome flick. All right, number 3, we got to go with The Favorite. This is weird, wacky, and wonderful from Greek director Yorgos Lanthimos, set in 18th century England. Queen Anne kind of losing her faculties, played by Olivia Colman. Rachel Weisz is her second in command, if you will. They have a strong relationship. Enter Emma Stone, who plays a new servant, and she really shakes things up, if you will. It's got amazing period detail. The costumes are impeccable, and a lot of weird, like, vulgar humor and contemporary dancing and things like that. So it had this strange modern twist to a lot of it. And the trio of performances from Coleman, Stone, and Weisz, outstanding. And Nicholas Hoult, too. He's awesome in this movie.
Final 2.
Okay, number 2, The Rider. Not many people have heard about this movie. I'm a sucker for movies about the heartland of America. This is based on a true story as well, and they used non-actors in this film. They're essentially playing different versions or sort of exaggerated versions of their real-life people. It's about a rising star on the rodeo circuit who suffers a career-ending injury, and the big debate is whether he's going to go back in the ring and do what he does best. And it was just such a wonderful, vivid film. It didn't feel like you were watching a movie. It was like you were watching a documentary, and I mean that in the best way possible. You forgot that there was even like a camera crew around at times because it's so natural, and the cinematography was just gorgeous. It captured that beauty and essence and that kind of haunting nature of the American heartland. So there's some real magic here. This movie I saw months ago, but it stuck with me for so long. So that brings us to number 1, and I had to go with The Talking Bear.
This pop-up book, where on earth did you find it?
Mr. Gruber's antique shop.
Stop! Freeze!
All right, for all intents and purposes, Paddington 2 is a perfect film. It's great for the entire family. Action, adventure. The visual effects are amazing, and it's got Hugh Grant in one of the best roles of his life and one of the best villains of the year. And it has the message, if we're kind and polite, the world will be right. And after a year like we had in 2018, I think that's some pretty solid advice. Paddington 2, I will watch this movie over and over and over again, and it will get better every time. That is my number 1 pick for the year.
Nice work.
Boom, there you go.
Good suggestions in case it's a movie night tonight for me.